Okay, I pushed the right button now, so we can now start the podcast. All right, it's fall growing season, and we want to talk about the easiest to plant, right? And Batavia, when we were talking before, you're like, well, they're all easy to put in the ground, but this is really about like to take care of and all that stuff.
Yeah, easy to plant is different than easy to grow.
Yeah,
I think those are two different things. But we're always talking about, generally speaking, what's easiest to grow.
yeah, planting and growing are two terms that are the same but very different when you get down and dirty to it. And
Hmm.
I feel like that's one of the issues that we've had on the show over time is like the nuances of the different terminology and how to use it. Because I don't know, I've never really thought about it until we started like really doing the podcast. It's like, man, if you just change one word, it's totally
Yeah.
different, you know. In the normal world, the normies out there, they all use different. So it's interesting.
Did I ever tell you about how, when it came to like vegetables, for eons, I would only like the term is picking at something, pick some greens,
Yeah.
pick some tomatoes. And in all of the years of watching YouTube before I started, developing a footprint on social media, the term harvest was so often used. And so we were just talking before we hit the record button. Well, before I hit it and before you didn't. But then, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were
Thanks
just
for
talking
pointing that
before
out.
that. We were just talking before that about how, like, a part of what our job is to make sure that we're speaking in terms that others understand. So then I started adopting harvest. And it's funny because it's a little bit like garden code switching. Depending on who I'm talking
Yeah.
to, I'll change that language. Most times in person, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's weird because it's like, you know, when I'm at the house, I'm like I'm fixing to go out and pick.
Hmm.
But you know,
Hmm.
if you put on YouTube, I'm fixing to go out and pick my vegetables.
Hmm.
Nobody cares about that. It's harvest, and it's
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like that. And you know, it is
Right.
basically code switching. It's weird.
Yeah, we talked about this years ago when it came to dirt versus soil. Well,
Oh
that's the
man,
Wayback Machine. That's
no, bring that up because somebody said something to me the other day about it. They're like, you know that dirt is crap. And I was like,
Mm.
whatever, bro. Like, it's dirt. You know, I still stand firm in dirt, but we got to play the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All
Right.
right. Well, before we get in and tell you about the easiest plants to grow, let's do
Hmm.
this. Welcome back to the Backyard Gardens podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Ben, and I am with my co host, Miss Batavia.
We put that chin.
If you would like to support the show, you may do so by becoming an Apple subscriber or a patron. Check out our YouTube channel down below. Please come see us there. And also get some seeds from us. We've got a seed shop that's fully operational, and right now, if you buy 2 packs of seeds, we will give you a free pack of seeds in return. So come get some seeds for your fall garden because some of these crops we have all of these crops we're going to be talking about, but some of them are fast to grow and you still have time to get them into your garden for fall. So don't hesitate.
Oh shoot!
You good? Hit it.
One more time.
One more for the people. All right. So, yeah, it's we had a I don't know if it was a lengthy conversation or not. About
Yeah, I think it was.
30 minutes worth of conversation about it, but it's when you start breaking it down, and one thing that I didn't say this when we were talking earlier, Batavia, but one thing I was thinking about was in the spring, it's a totally different beast for growing than in the fall. And so when you talk about what's easier, then that's kind of where I was hesitating because I was considering like spring, you have that considerable warm up coming, but in fall it's the exact opposite and you're getting less sun every day. So it just kind of it's a weird thing to think about and to understand that there's a total difference in the two.
Yeah, and I could probably. It's the difference that I immediately think of is the challenge, which would be the heat
Yeah.
comes at the end of the growing period in the spring.
Yeah.
meaning that these plants are at the end, the last stages of their growth, where the heat is, if it's going to be a problem for you, it's a problem in the early part of the growing experience, the growing journey for the fall planting.
Ugh, I hate that word
I
journey.
know, I do too.
It's a trigger. Boy, is that a trigger. It's a journey, man. No, I can't. I can't do. And it's crazy. So, because of what we do, considered down to earth person, and I've been called a
We are?
hip.
We're
Yeah,
considered down
well,
there?
because we are in the garden and we talk about
Oh,
the
okay, okay.
earth
Just
and
making sure.
loving the garden and all that stuff. And I've been
Mhm.
accused of being a hippie. No problems with hippies at all. If you're a hippie, thank you for being here. But it's just always like, no, that's not me. I just like growing food. You know what I mean? And I appreciate what God has given us and all that. So,
Mhm.
but when we come down to fall crops, there is a hierarchy of what's the easiest. And then you have to get into, because of the time crunch, you have to factor in the time crunch to some extent. So this list isn't necessarily what are the fastest crops. There are some quick ones on here, but more importantly, what this list consists of are crops that are tried and true, frost hardy, and are solid producers in your garden.
Mhm.
Safe to say?
Safe to say, the safest.
All right. So why don't you kick us off on the first one, Batavia?
Hmm. I'm looking at the order here and seeing what trap you've set for me. All right, so the first one's going to be cabbage. And depending on who you are and how long you've been listening, you could either be growing doorknob size cabbage or just cabbage in general. Um, so yeah,
Bro,
I mean,
why
I
you
think
gotta
that,
keep bringing up the doorknob cabbage? Look, I'm
well,
gonna have
it's,
to cut you off on that because I
I
know
feel
you got
like,
it this year. I know
yeah,
you
and I
did.
feel like I'm trying to, go arm in arm with you to say I understand the pain, right? And I'll pretend like it's just the perfect kind of miniature size. I am actually going to grow a smaller size cabbage this fall. Um,
Wait, what are you growing?
there's, it's funny. It's this. I've never grown it before. This variety called Tierra.
Oh, I couldn't grow that. I don't like the name.
Of course you don't. Um, and I'm growing it this fall in particular with the idea of it's going to generally grow just the same as any other cabbage when it
Yeah.
comes to the planting or transplanting, direct sowing, whichever I choose. But I don't have to worry about like the potential of 80, 90, 100 days. I don't remember the days to harvest, which is a whole different conversation. So anyway, cabbage I think is one of the easier plants to grow, because like you said, they have to be frost tolerant. Like that's
It's
like the
gotta be,
price
man.
to entry,
Well, and the problem when you talk about cabbage, so it's no coincidence that cabbage was first on the list, ladies and gentlemen, because it is a very long crop to grow.
Mhm.
But on that same breath, it is a very frost hardy crop. So I
Mhm.
think that you're exactly right. It kind of, you know, it's so frost hardy that it's worth growing. Now this year I redeemed myself from my
You did.
17th century doorknob cabbages. I think I
Mhm.
got 3.5 pound cabbages, which is pretty good for me. And I grew the flat Dutch that we have in the shop, and I want to try and grow it again for the fall. The only issue with it, and I'm kind of second guessing myself, but I'm just gonna stay the course. Is that cabbage is actually takes a little bit of time to produce. So I'm trying to get them up and going, but I kind of had a mess up with my seedlings, and I didn't realize that the timer was turned just on and not on
Oh.
time. So my
Mhm.
seeds got, you can do the math, 21 days times 24 hours of sunlight. So we're good now. We've righted the ship, but I was like, what is going on?
Mhm.
Well, there you go. They never got to sleep. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, cabbage is, and the thing is too, cabbage is highly susceptible to pests. But I
Mhm.
think what we're going to find, and this is what I've witnessed in my garden, correct me if you think or if you feel different. Cool season crops are highly susceptible across the board to pests. I have not found anything that's not as susceptible as Batavia swats a fungus gnat.
Let's talk about pests. Those are just annoyances. Um, it's a interesting time. Generally speaking, there's one argument that says, "Oh, the weather is cooler. This is a great time to grow some of these things because the pests have kind of gone away." And I think that's more true in the spring than it is in the fall. My beloved collard greens, the kales, the collards, the cabbage, they all suffer from the cabbage butterfly and ultimately the cabbage worm. And I have tracked this thing. She's flying around all the way up until like the first frost. So while again these are frost hardy plants that we'll be talking about, if it's been fighting for its life for all of this growing part in fall, it doesn't matter that okay, now the cabbage butterfly is dead. Go ahead and do your growing. Like it, it needed that time to stay healthy, right? And
Yeah.
again, there are different ways that you can manage it in your garden. I've generally managed it through covering the plants, which I plan to do this fall as well, so she can't get to the plants. But that's one side of it. It's cooler, so you shouldn't have as many problems. That's not been my experience.
That's
It's
the
also
exact opposite for me.
yeah, it's also cooler, and that's kind of that wet, kind of cold, kind
Yep.
of weird bit of it all, which you also have in spring, but you have that in fall too. I feel like in spring, maybe you have a little bit more time to recover from any of those woes.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And so what you'll find, and as we were making the list too, I was thinking like pest pressure, and every single crop I grow in fall is all susceptible to the exact same pest across the board. So
Hmm.
the only difference I think with cabbage, which is kind of makes it easier, is it's so big that the leaves like can take a little bit of damage. You know what I mean? Versus if you had something
Yeah.
with some small leaves, like spinach. If you take spinach, oh, spoiler alert, spinach. If you put spinach on there and it gets, the cabbage worm on it, that little hole is detrimental to that plant. So that's one thing. And the
Mm-hmm.
leaves are very tough as well.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Um, yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about some of the other plants as well, it's not kind of the single thing that you're producing,
Yeah.
right? Of course, you can have a plant grow and then cut it completely out of your garden and take it into your kitchen. But we know for cabbage in particular, you're growing a single head of cabbage,
Yeah.
right? But you are right that that plant gets pretty big and has a chance to fight, recover before it kind of does its final dance of
Yeah.
forming the head. Yeah, it's interesting. I hope to grow more cabbage this fall. Not a lot, just more.
Bro,
Yeah.
oh man. I have to make an adjustment to the list and you'll see in a little bit.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. I got to play the
It's
card, but I
okay.
just had a light bulb went off. Let's do something a little bit fun for these. Let's
Mhm.
each give one reason why they would not be easy, just to kind of even it out a little bit.
Okay.
What's your one
And
reason?
the obvious assumption would be the cabbage butterfly. That's put that on the sidelines because that's always going to be a challenge
Yeah.
for me. One of the reasons why it wouldn't be easy for me in my garden would be getting enough sun for those plants to get, like we just talked about, big enough
Yeah.
to then start to form that head.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, mine would just be the sheer time that it takes. But I think factoring in the sun is a big difference too because that 90 days becomes 110 days easily
Mm-hmm.
with the low
Yeah.
angle of the sun. So there you
Yeah.
go. All right. Number 2. So this one has a love-hate relationship on this show. And I'm guilty, okay? I'm guilty. I hated it and then I figured it out, okay? I'm 2 seasons in with 100% harvest on it, up from an average of 30%. So that is a hell of a raise. But we got to put it on here because it's a high producer, it's popular, it's a staple, it's broccoli. Broccoli is a very important crop. It's very similar to cabbage. Obviously, it's a brassica, so But it's very similar in growth, time, and all that. But it adds that diversity to your diet, which is great. But as far as easy to grow, it's kind of a mixed bag, in my opinion,
Yeah.
still. So we need to talk about. I think with broccoli, what we need to talk about is what can you do to make it easier to grow. I think that's the trick there.
Yeah. I'd say sizable, if you're transplanting, sizable transplants going into the garden would make things easier. I think that the growing habits of broccoli versus a cabbage, although they both are creating a head, is different, right? Well, of course it's different, but it's like notably different in my mind. I think from the point of the head forming until when you're ready to harvest broccoli, it's much a much shorter window than you're watching the cabbage head start the leaves start to kind of fold in,
Yeah,
right? I feel like that's a longer period of time as you're watching compared to the broccoli that's like you go on a week and a half vacation. Good for you.
yeah.
Go on a week and a half vacation, you could come back to, just in time broccoli harvest.
Well, it's interesting too because when you watch them grow, it's I mean, I was just thinking of back into the spring. I was watching my cabbage because I had my cabbage and broccoli in the same bed, and I was watching them grow, and it was like I was waiting and waiting for that cabbage head to form, and it was like I'll walk away and I turn around, and then all of a sudden there's a head of broccoli there.
Yeah.
Now, two things that really took broccoli and threw it into this category of easy crops to grow. So the first thing is planting it early enough to give it enough
Mhm.
time in the garden. This goes really, both of these will go for cabbage too. But the timing of planting is super duper important. So we want to make sure that you get it in the ground early enough to give it time, okay? Because it is very frost hardy, absolutely. But it slows down and it can almost stall out. And so we want to try and not have that happen. So that's the first thing that I did that really made it a lot easier.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you want me to do the second one or do you want me to wait?
It
You got something to
is the
say?
timing that's your is
The first one,
what
yeah, is timing.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead, do the second one.
And then the second one is fertilization. So
Mhm.
I really ramped up the past 2 years. I ramped up my fertilization. So I grew the same variety last year, past 2 years. I grew Waltham broccoli. I've always grown Waltham broccoli. So this is very important to note. And we were getting, average heads. And I
Mhm.
always go in
Mhm.
the grocery store and I'm like, where, what are, why is the broccoli so big? Like we're growing it, and I never could get a big head of broccoli. Well, last year, what we did is we planted earlier just by itself, and we fed it a little bit more. And I noticed that I went from, like I said, 30% to 100% harvest. So I knew that the timing was everything. So the timing got it figured out. And then I started adding in nitrogen, and I fed it really heavy. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, this is a lot of fertilizer. But I was like, just stay the course, just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You've had no harvest before, so we went back and I fed it more, and I got heads of
Mhm.
broccoli bigger than my head. I sent Batavia a picture of it, and it's
I think that's your profile picture in my phone.
and it was
Your
across the
contact.
board that I was getting that. It wasn't just one or two heads, it was all of them. So the fertilizer was really important. And I'm interested to see now, I'm going to do a little bit of research and see, like, is there a key time when the broccoli in
Mhm.
its growth cycle uses the most fertilizer? Like, is there a
Mm.
signal for that? Like there is with corn, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm
Or
curious to see that.
potatoes, yeah.
Yeah, for potatoes too. So I'm curious to see how that works.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that are we moving to the what can make it not so easy?
Yeah, because I think you kind of we can go either way, but I think you kind of have to talk about that with broccoli because
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go with something that's not my experience, but it would be you still have a pretty hot, fall. right?
Yeah.
So the time that it's growing, you've gotten it in early, you're feeding it, but what happens if your weather is still pretty warm? Think, 80 plus as a high pretty consistently.
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenge for broccoli in particular, more so I think than a cabbage.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have yet to have a broccoli go straight to bolt, but I have been very stressed about that.
Mm,
And one thing I will say is it does struggle when it's hot, but adding a little bit of shade and just taking the right measurements, again, timing out your planting so you can kind of catch that cooling cycle. And it's very gradual, but you just want to catch it so that's like the downward trend is kind of occurring. You'll have
yeah.
peaks and valleys, but I think that's very important too. So for me, I think the downfall with broccoli would be, I think it would be the pest pressure. I think there's a lot of pest
Mm,
pressure on broccoli in my experience, more so than cabbage.
mm,
So, yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna add one more just for, what, some giggles. And it's just it's not like a short window like beans, meaning if you don't harvest it today, then or zucchini, if you don't harvest it
Yeah.
today, in 2 days, you really aren't going to want to harvest it. It's not that exactly, but there is a smaller window when it comes to not ready, not ready. Oh, it's ready.
Yeah.
Oh, it's flowering, so that's something to be said. I think generally though, if you're going into colder weather, that is less of a concern. It's not just heat that's the problem for some of these plants. It's the stress that the heat could have on the
Yeah.
plant. It's the stress that, and we have remember the quote from, it was a scientist or something that we had from a university that talked about the dips, like 20, 30, 40-degree temperature dips that create stress for your plants across the board. But in particular, I think we were looking at broccoli when we noted that.
Yeah. That's what kills it and causes it to bolt. So,
Mhm, mhm.
absolutely. And the problem I have isn't bolting in the fall. It's it's frost damage on the head itself.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
That's the
uh-huh,
one issue. So that's where your
yeah.
timing is really important. So,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay. The setup. This is the reason why he wanted me to go first, so I could go next in leafy greens, all of them.
Okay.
I'm very confident in my description of that.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and make your description of leafy greens?
So, I feel like every other conversation we have, especially because we've been talking about fall, in our private conversations, we keep on arm wrestling over this. I think leafy greens are a particular thing. Young Ben thinks is a particular thing. I'm going to label leafy greens as your Swiss chards and your mustards, your bok choys as an example. There are more, but those are three examples that I can share.
Bok choy is absolutely not a leafy green. Absolutely. And I want you to hold on to that. Okay. So,
No, I don't want to hold on to it.
okay. So,
Put it in the trunk, man. I don't want to ride with it.
no, we're just, well, hell, let's just jam it on the gas and get into it. So, that was what I was going to add in. The easiest of all crops to grow in fall, and I have found this out in the past couple of years, is absolutely bok choy. I have never in my life planted a plant and got a full harvest off of it, no questions asked, time and time again. It's the easiest, and the reason why I don't lump it in with leafy greens is because you eat the stem. The stem is a big part of
Mm-hmm.
it. So, and when I say a big part, I mean it's a big damn part of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's why I
Yeah.
don't lump it in. But that is what I have found to be the absolute easiest in fall, and it's kind of surprised me each year because last year I wasn't sure how it was going to do into the cold, and it did absolutely fine. I mean, obviously I cover my gardens and stuff like that, but it made it produced, and it was, it produced so much that I let it go to bolt because I was tired of eating it. You know what I mean? Which is a good
Yeah.
sign when you have that issue.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It is a little bit more sensitive than, of course, like a cabbage, right? The reason why, gosh, I've grown bok choy in the fall in particular, and boy, is it just beautiful, right? You get the crispness of it. However, lump it in with any of the things I need to cover from the cabbage butterfly. I know I sound like a broken record, but it is frustrating though. Again, there are choices I can make that I've decided not to make when it comes to how to manage against that pest, but it absolutely gets attacked by the cabbage butterfly or cabbage worms, I should say. So I have to then make room in my garden for how much cover, insect netting am I going to use? Am I going to have it on all of my
Yeah.
garden beds for the fall?
You keep using
And
this
then when it
term
comes,
cabbage butterfly. Is it not cabbage moth?
it's the one that's in my garden. It's not the
Is that a
cabbage
different thing?
moth. I've said cabbage moth for years. This
Yeah.
isn't a code switching. I had been wrong for years. The cabbage moth is more of like that brownish moth, where the cabbage butterfly with the dot dot on the back is the cabbage
Oh,
butterfly.
okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I
very
got all kinds of
technical.
videos where I'm like, here she is, the cabbage
You
moth.
know, do you
Same idea though when it comes to the damage that it's going to do.
yeah.
There's a worm that's, the
So,
larva and then the worm and then the eating away. And
do
the
you
poop, of
sound like a
course.
broken record? Absolutely. But on the other hand, everybody else does too. I mean, I've got comment after comment after comment of people saying, I don't grow cabbage anymore because of the pest pressure. I don't grow this anymore because of the pest pressure. And we all know what you're referring to. We all
Mhm,
know because
mhm.
I mean, really, what other pests are there in the fall? There's really nothing else, which makes it very
Maybe
easy.
slugs, but they kind of attack a lot of things. So
Yeah.
it's not, they're not particular about, the brassicas in particular. Mustards are another thing that cabbage worms
Yeah.
eat away at my mustards. So
Yeah. It's
I kind of have to
everything.
choose for me and my sanity. Fortunately, I don't feel like for things like bok choy and mustards that they have to be a part of my crop rotation. So if I grew them in a space, covered that space, hell, arugula is something that the cabbage butterfly will lay eggs on, and ultimately the cabbage worm
I've
will
had it
eat.
on radishes and turnips and rutabagas and
Radishes for sure, the
everything.
leaves, yeah.
I mean,
Turnip, yeah, yeah.
it's like it's across
It's
the
a
board,
hungry
and
little thing, isn't she?
yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, and look, this is turning into a pest, and we don't want to have this as a pest episode, so let's back off on the pest. But no, and the bok choy too. What I was gonna say is, man, when you plant a row of bok choy, it's a sight to be seen.
It
It's a
is.
perfect. I mean, I don't know. There's just something about it, and I telling you, I never thought that I would ever fall in love with growing bok choy in my entire life. Never thought it.
You know what's interesting too? So there is the what are you going to do with all of that? That's a question that
I'm gonna
oftentimes
eat it.
comes up, right? What am I going to do with it? Well, let's not talk about the next thing that happens with it. So, what am I going to do with all of that? Bok choy is an interesting thing because of like spinach, It's, I think, better than a spinach because you can get a little bit more mileage out of it, but it's not like you have 20 bok choy plants and you're going to be eating on bok choy for the next 2 months. That's not how that crop works. I could probably eat minimally two, probably three as a part of a meal bok choy plants. Now, the bok choy that's in our shops, those get kind of big, so
Yeah,
maybe it's like one and a half as I say it out loud.
we
Yeah.
eat one per meal. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
Um,
You're sauteing it mostly, right?
I've sautéed it, boiled it, we've fried it, we've done a lot of things with it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing, because you brought up spinach, and it's like, well, yeah, I can take one bok choy, harvest it, eat it, or I can harvest off of 50 spinach plants and get a
Excuse
cup
me.
of, steamed spinach. You know what I mean? Like, it's intense.
Excuse me.
Bless you. It's
Thank you.
intense the amount of spinach that you have to grow in order to produce a meal. So, and this isn't about space saving either, but I think it kind of has to factor in a little bit too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's light bulb, discussion topic. The mileage you're getting out of the plants that you're harvesting,
Yeah.
and mileage could go for how much it takes, how many meals it can fill. Mileage could go for, how long it can stay in the garden. There are a number of different things, but I look at something like, I think it's like, I want to say it's a well kept secret because I know there are plenty of people that grow it, but your pak choys, your bok choys, like all of those plants, they're generally easy to grow.
Yeah.
Again, beyond the pest bit, they're easy to grow. I mean, what are you doing besides waiting for them to get up to size,
Yeah.
right? You can harvest it at whichever size you want, really. And I think that, like you said, I don't know if I fried it, but it definitely, you can prepare it so it has a different, flavor profile.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty cool crop. I don't know how low the temperatures go for it, but I don't expect or want to have it in my garden like, until January. That's not my expectation of it. I just don't view it in that way, and that's absolutely okay.
So mine lived through 23 degrees last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we put cover on it, it was like 18 degrees,
Okay,
So,
yeah. I wouldn't have expected 23, and that's really pleasing.
yeah, so we eat it. I mean, we grew it and it was in the garden up until probably January, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
The last one came out right around January. So, and then we were putting it back in February, you know what I mean? Late
Mhm.
February. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, man, this thing produced, it did great, did excellent in the greenhouse. You can harvest it big, small, whatever. So, but we were talking about leafy greens and we need to
Mhm.
focus on your leafy greens. So, what is your list of leafy greens?
My list of leafy greens is anything that's not a brassica, anything that's not a lettuce. So my list of leafy greens, like literally in my seed packages, I have four leafy greens: Swiss chard, mustards. Um, I don't have turnips because I normally grow turnips for the root.
Yeah.
But if I were growing turnips for just the leaves, that would be a leafy green to me. Arugula is a leafy green to me. Um, what else? Any of the, mach is a leafy green.
I've never
Claytonia.
even seen a mach. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's like a rosette kind of.
Mm.
Like think small baby spinach, but think more compact. Any of those kind of small, almost like put you in the mind of an herb, but not quite. Those are leafy greens. So it's almost what's not a leafy green determines what is a leafy green in my mind.
Man, your definition is complicated. Mine's kale,
Hmm.
collards, and mustard.
And those are absolutely not leafy greens, besides mustards.
I don't know why. Why isn't kale a leafy green?
Excuse me, because kale and
You,
collards are in the brassica family, which I didn't know was even a thing until like
what does
10 or
that
12
matter
years
though?
ago.
If it's in a brassica family, what does that matter?
Well, you kept on saying before we started about how it grows the same, these things grow the same.
Yeah.
Those things really kind of have more of the same profile to me compared to these other things. Like everything from nutrition, so lettuces are all a thing, and they primarily go in salads.
Yeah,
They do go in
lettuces
sandwiches.
are I think lettuces are a leafy green, but I don't consider them a leafy green. If that's not confusing enough, I don't know what is, but like
Well, lettuce comes in more colors than green. No, no, no,
yeah.
I know.
Well, I can
As
tell
does,
you I've been trying to grow
mustards
red
too.
lettuce for many years and it always turns out green.
Um, and I don't, these aren't hard and fast rules. It's just the way that when I hear a term, what I think about, right? Like if I
Yeah.
had like a puzzle and I was putting things together and had the labels in front, that's what I would do. If you hear me say I'm growing leafy greens, I'm not talking about lettuce, right?
Yeah, neither
Which
am
goes
I.
back to the very beginning of the conversation. It can be a little confusing.
Yeah, like if I ever say if my wife comes to me and says, "Hey, we need some greens for dinner," I don't go, "Oh, well, let me go cut some lettuce." It's let me go cut mustard, kale, collards, even spinach can go under leafy greens too, but not for this list.
I think technically, not even technically, I do see how lettuce, spinach, mustards, arugula, kale, collards, I see how they all could, if you had to put them under one label, they all could go under leafy greens. I get it. I'm
Yeah,
just telling you that my mind doesn't think about leafy greens and collards.
that's so crazy to me. It's like alien.
We stumbled on it. I don't know what we were talking about. We were maybe talking about a list of some things, and you said it was when I mentioned arugula as a separate thing than lettuce.
Yeah,
And
because
you
I
were
consider
like,
that a spicy lettuce.
and I'm just like,
I
who
hate
are you?
arugula.
Let me speak to your
Well,
parents
and
because
down
no.
here too, when you go to a restaurant, they're like, "You want some greens?" you're going to get collard greens all day long. There's nothing else that's going to come out. It's going to be collard
Yeah,
greens.
that's a cultural thing too, though. So when someone talks about, yeah, we cooked dinner, we made some greens, I ain't think they ain't talking about arugula
No,
and they ain't talking about lettuce, right?
exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, yeah, they're talking about collards. They're in a lot of places they're not talking about kale either. They're talking about collards. They're talking about most times I feel like people around my way say cabbage separately,
Yeah.
but they're talking about collards. They're talking about turnip tops. They're
Yeah.
talking about mustards, right? Like that's it. Hard stop. You got some of them turnip
Yeah.
bottoms in that mixed green too, right? So
So that's leafy greens.
nah, dude, those are greens.
So, okay. So they're just greens. They're not leafy.
No, no,
Okay.
man, no.
That's so confusing, but
Can it be that it was all so simple then?
okay. So, okay, now that we've confused our listenership, so thank you for hanging in there.
I don't feel like I have any more clarity about your view
No.
of it.
Well,
And
mine's
I don't think you have any
straightforward.
more clarity on mine. So I know they don't.
The problem is as we have this conversation now, we're talking about different things. So, my definition is everything that Batavia says it's not, basically. So it's collards, kale, and mustard greens. Those are the main leafy greens that I'm talking about. So what are the main leafy greens that you're talking about in this discussion for easiness? So we can be on the same page.
We gotta move on, man. I'm getting the giggles.
I want to crack this one open. I'm telling
The
you.
next, if I would have known this was gonna go there, I would have brought my little container of seeds that have leafy greens in it. Swiss chard, arugula, mustards.
Mustards,
Those are
okay.
my main leafy greens.
Swiss chard's a green too, yeah. Because it's okay.
Is it
We're
leafy? Does it have leaves? No, I'm
don't
just
yeah. I was gonna say don't. Now you're trolling me. So, what makes them easy?
I forgot that's what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
I did too. I thought this was a whole podcast about what are leafy greens.
Um, so what makes them easy? I mean, these things want to grow. These are almost weed-like when it comes to like them wanting to grow, growing under all kinds of weird conditions. I have right now, the six sales, the small, kind of more traditional six sale pack.
Mm-hmm.
I have one single Swiss chard plant that's been on my deck all season long. I somehow forgot that I had one more plant to plant and just didn't plant it. And then it was almost like an experiment of like, this thing is in like what, half dollar size of soil. Who knows how much soil now, given that it's been growing. And it looks good. Now, again, it's not a huge plant. It has a couple of small baby leaves on it, but like they want to grow. They want to stay alive. It's
Yeah.
harder to kill these things, right? That's probably not the best criteria for it being easy.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with them is, you know, like mustard. That's like our common thread here is mustard. So we'll just leave
Only
it at
thing we
that.
can agree on.
Yeah, it's the only thing we can agree on. But I mean, it does. It grows. It grows strong. You don't have to harvest the whole plant. You know, you can do. So what I do, for instance, is I'll grow 8 mustard plants, and then I'll harvest from every other plant. And then the next time I want some, I'll harvest from every other plant again. So, you know, it gives them time to regrow. You're not waiting for anything to head up at all.
Yeah.
You're not waiting for any kind of form to it whatsoever. You're just literally waiting for the leaf. So I think, as I said that, I think we have a definition maybe. We need to vote on it. If
No.
you're waiting to just harvest a leaf in general, no forming or anything, maybe we can call it a leafy green and move on.
I think that makes sense, but
Okay.
I'm not willing to go there.
I'll take it with it makes sense. I'll take that as a win.
Yeah. Well, when you say it so plainly, how can I contest? Are you going to harvest a leaf from kale? Yes, I'm going to harvest a leaf.
There you
Does
go.
that make it a leafy green? I'm not so sure.
Is it a green leaf? Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. That's what's so great about gardening is everybody makes up their own definitions. But
For
and
the record, everything that we've talked about, everything that Young Ben has said, I could agree that all of these things are leafy greens besides cabbage.
Yeah, I
That's the
don't.
only thing because of the forming of the head.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think the rest of the things are organized in my seed area as leafy greens, but that's not really what's important here. So if you're thinking about what leafy greens you should be growing for fall, just about any of them will do well in fall.
yeah. I mean, that's it's really true. And chard, I don't grow a lot of chard because when it comes to leafy greens, I just kind of use them all. Except for like if we're gonna cook something, it doesn't matter really. We have eliminated kale this year, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
I'm
Good for
very
you.
happy that I'm not growing kale this year. I'm moving on from it. I've got a freezer full of it, and I'm gonna choke it down, and I'm done with kale. But if we want to cook something, typically it's like, hey, just get a green. Doesn't matter what it is.
Hmm.
The only difference would be like if I'm like, hey, you want a little bit of spice? Okay, I'll get some mustard greens. Other than that, like that's how we look at it, and it's just easier that way.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say I could just take like a handful of greens seeds and plant them, and it wouldn't matter. But with the mustard, I do like that spiciness, so we go for that, which means we have to stress the plant out a little bit to make it a little bit more spicy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you do highlight this idea of what's going to make this easier for you, your growing, and then for, your picking and your consuming and all of that. And I do think as soon as we start taking slice after slice after slice, like I've done when it comes to kind of how these are grouped, it makes it more complicated, right? Like if it doesn't have a head and you're picking the leaf, it's a leafy green, it's very easy to continue to move with,
Yeah,
right? It's the if, and that kind of goes with the whole. I've heard you say this time and time again. You all treat them and cook them and eat them the same way,
yeah.
right? They're interchangeable. That's not my experience in my kitchen,
Well, let me
and
say this:
me in my kitchen.
on average, we do that. But if we're like, hey, we want a pot of collard greens, clearly we'll get some collard greens. Hey, we
Mm,
want something spicy, But if it's just like a stir fry or something, we just treat them
yeah,
the same. So, except, and every time I did that with kale, I just always was like, it just doesn't hit the nail for me. So,
yeah. It
okay,
takes a bit more work. I know, you pick and choose what you want to work for.
yeah.
I get it.
And they're all frost hardy too. Every single one of these, it doesn't matter whose definition you go by, they're all frost hardy too. So, and when I say frost hardy, I mean freeze hardy to a
Hmm. Hmm.
low 20s. As long as you get a rebound temperature or you cover them so they can get a rebound the next day, that's the important part. So we got to remember that, and that's what
That's
makes a difference.
critically important. Yeah.
Critically, yeah, and it's an unrealized thing about the garden too. Okay, so now that we've gone through lettuces, well, next one's lettuce. I was gonna say it was a leafy green that we both agree is not a leafy green. So lettuces, what a joy for your fall garden.
It just makes me happy. Lettuce is one of those, it's like it's like Rudy in the movie. It's like the underdog, so to speak. Like no one's that excited about lettuce, it seems, but isn't it a sight to see in the garden, similar to the bok choy we were talking about a little while ago? And it will wait for you, especially when we're in the fall,
Yeah,
right? So there's no rush to get out there. It's a great time to explore which are your favorite lettuces, right? Like I was talking to my cousin the other day, and I said, it's my favorite lettuce. I went to the store to pick up like this kind of oak leaf, kind of burgundy-ish top lettuce, and I said, I know, yeah, I have favorite lettuces. Like that's a whole thing, and it gives you a chance to explore kind of what's different. I love a good lettuce mix. If you're into baby greens, you can try some different ones. The only thing I always have pause around some of those mixes have things like arugula in it, and so now I have things that are eaten up. I know, you love
so
the baby leaves.
so
I
we're
know.
we're taking applications for another podcast host on here because we've heard baby greens today, and before this we heard microgreens, and I don't like either
We
one of
did,
those
yeah.
discussions. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You didn't sign up for either,
I
yeah.
did not sign up for this. This is torture.
The if if I can say a thing, which I know you haven't even got to, but I kind of want to say it and toss it over to you, is there's not as much versatility as I would like to have with lettuces. Like I eat a lot of salad, so it's cool. I don't eat a lot of sandwiches, but if I did, that's obviously another opportunity. I'm never cooking lettuce. I did have a coworker 15 years ago tell me about grilled romaine, with some lemon juice, some Parmesan cheese, some salt and pepper. That's really tasty. And I'm pretty sure I've seen that on like on a television show, like at a restaurant or something. Like, but that's kind of a special thing, right?
Yeah. Well,
You basically are.
if my grill wasn't a big fat giant piece of crap, it might be good, but I need a new grill bad. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Um, that's probably the only thing. Everything else we've talked about and we normally talk about when it comes to particular vegetables, you have a number of different options as to how you can enjoy it. Now, I take that as a challenge when it comes to lettuce, and I everything else around it I use to make it different. It's
Yeah.
still going to be something I'm generally eating cold. The lettuce is going to be cold, but whether it's like, a Big Mac lettuce salad, crumbled ground beef with some Thousand Isle dressing or something, whether it is, a bed of lettuce with some rice on top, a bed of lettuce with some potatoes, and then a protein, a bed of lettuce with some beets, because I've grown all of the beets. There's always an opportunity to add,
Man,
onions. There are all kinds of ways that I can make salad different, but I am very clear on it is salad,
I'm so tired of talking about beets.
Yeah,
I,
I know. I'm
I'm
trying to
growing
win
them.
you over.
I'm growing them this year.
Yeah, I saw.
I started 10. And 9 of them came up. So I'm going to grow 9 beets. I'm going to eat
Yeah,
all
man.
9 of them. I'm going to eat every single one of them.
Yeah, roasted, man. It's
No,
still, I mean, it's still a beet. Don't get me wrong.
don't tell me how to eat it cuz I've done it many ways and it's just not good. But I feel like if I grow 9 beets and I eat 9 beets, there's a chance that I might start to like them 1% more.
That's not enough. You got to do like triple that. You just got to, hunker down and just keep on eating them.
Well, okay, so the low blow is if I do give up 1%, then I'll just plant more in January, and then I'll be able to eat them more. So we'll see. I'm not going to go there,
Beets
but
are like kale for you. In my mind, I can accept that it's just not something you're a fan of.
mhm,
Like the spicy kinds of greens, I'm just not crazy about. Like
yeah.
I like mustards, but I want them very early, very young when they're mild. Right. As soon as they get that kind of spice to them, like, you know.
I forced myself to try and like kale for many years, and I acted like it too. I put on a front because everybody was like, "It's so good for you." Man, screw that.
Mm,
Beets are good for you though, and I do
yeah.
have experience with because I used to drink beet juices,
Juice.
and it does make a difference when you're active. So
Mm,
like when we go surfing and stuff, it does make a difference. I just have a hard time choking it down. But lettuces.
I get it.
So yeah, there's not a lot of variety in lettuces. The only thing I can say as far as consuming them is just varying the amounts of the kinds of salads and stuff like that. So and when I say the kinds, I'm not referring to different dressings. I'm referring to like just mixing it up, going crazy with it. That's the only thing. But again, this isn't the most diverse way to use a crop. This is to
Yeah.
grow,
Yeah.
and
It's the easiest to grow.
and in the
Yeah.
fall, it's great because in the spring we cut ours completely off. We harvest the whole head. But in the fall, we don't do that. We cut and come again, a lot like we do the mustards and stuff like that. So these lettuces, and I do this every year, I put them in the ground. I'm like, it's going to be a quick crop. It's not going to be there for a long time. And the damn thing stays in there all the way up until I need to plant again. So, and it's like, that's not my goal. My goal is to get them out so my bed can rest. But I'm like, well, they're doing good. So, we keep trying. And it's just, they're, and the different varieties you can get, you're exactly right. Now, I've never grown a iceberg type lettuce. I don't like to
I
eat
haven't
it.
either, interestingly enough.
I don't like it. I don't like to eat it. When I was a kid, that's all you
Mhm.
got. But it's
Same. Yeah.
sometime Loose leaf lettuce came on as a new kid on the block and just, I mean, it kicked the door down and won the fight. So I've never really enjoyed iceberg lettuce. I'll tell you this, though. If you ever get like a wedge salad and you pay for one, damn, might as well start
Isn't
growing
that
some
something?
iceberg. I mean, it's $15 for a wedge of a head of lettuce. Like, come on, man. That's
Well, we
$60
have
for a
found
whole
ways to
head.
make things fancy. So I want to go back and you clarified it, but I just want to make sure I underscore it. Lettuce and tomatoes are probably the thing that have peppers are probably a close second that have the most varieties, different types. Like
Oh, I'm
it's
glad you said that.
unlimited. It feels like when it comes to the different actual varieties of lettuce. Um, but what we were talking about is kind of the ways to consume it. That's a limiting factor,
Yeah.
right? Which again, you clarified that, but I didn't want to come back around to that. Hold on.
Dude, you
Excuse
need to blow
me.
your nose.
Good
So,
night. Yeah, you keep on putting the camera back on me, and I'm like, I need to sniffle here.
no, you good. All right, here, I'll take the camera off of you. Now blow your nose. So, what you talk about your favorite lettuce and stuff like that. I don't really have a favorite lettuce in the respect of like by taste. So, the taste of the lettuce doesn't really matter to me because it all tastes the same. Honestly, it's just this greeny, watery crunch. But my favorite lettuces come in how they grow, how productive they are, and the ease of them. And I've definitely grown some that are harder than others. Like your romaine type lettuces are my favorites because they're more hardy. Your loose leaf lettuces are more delicate, and so I don't really prefer to grow those. It's just that if they get hot, which here where I live, we absolutely get cold and we'll stay cold, but then we'll have like periods of heat, and those lettuces will go limp and have all kinds of issues. So it doesn't really work the best for us, but at the same time, we do what we can with it. And I prefer romaine type lettuces, and my favorite is actually that little gem lettuce we sell because
Yeah.
it's a small head. I really like that lettuce. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was a delicacy, but whatever.
So a good example of it is the lettuce that I buy during the off season. That represents not just what I can get my hands on, but what my favorites are. So this is like maybe the second year only that I've ever been able to grow the Paris romaine, which we also have in the seed shop, to the point where it forms the big head.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful thing. Gosh, did it go a long way because those things are huge. You look at something, and I did start some indoors for the Paris romaine, but I also started some little gem with the intention on being able to harvest them at different times
Yeah.
because they're going to be grown at different times or they're going to come up to size at different times. So it's texture, and I do believe there is a distinct taste between some lettuces, but it's mostly texture for me. So I am a fan of again the romaines as well. But I also like a little color in the salad, which is the reason why I go with some of the red and the burgundy. I never ever have watched the speed of season. I never have pest pressure with lettuces. Ever,
Um, I'm not gonna
never.
say I never ever do, but it's not as often. Actually, I
Yeah.
take that back. So first of all, your Bluetooth is trying to connect again.
Oh,
It's been doing it for the past few minutes. But what I'll say is the only pest that I've really had issues with lettuce is snails. Um, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Once I got rid of the wood chips, the snails went down dramatically. Which
Hmm.
Batavia, you asked me not too long ago, what's up with the lack of mulch in my garden? That's what's
Mm-hmm.
up with the lack of mulch. I'm trying to work through the roly polies and the
Yeah.
snails and stuff. So, but we are going to be adding. I mean, hell, it's been 98 degrees all week, so whatever. So yeah, lettuces are great. Feed them heavy. All of these crops need to be fed heavy with nitrogen. Every single one of them. Pre-planting, after planting, during growing, multiple times. Feed them nitrogen. Keep them warm. Cover them. You're going to have a great season. Now we got to get to the question of the day because our leafy green argument took us long. So let me do this. The Backyard Gardens podcast is sponsored by the Planter app. So, if you'd like to really get down and dirty and design a garden and make a solid growing plan, which I think, and both of us think, is one of the deciding factors on the success of your garden, is having a good solid plan, factoring in crop rotation, which makes it easy with the visual interface, telling you what's combative and companion. You can use that either way. I like to plan everything combative. There's a show out there for that, and we can talk about that again in the future. But some people like to plan everything as companion, and the visual of that, the red and green dots, will help you with that. It's a square foot interface, so everything is drag and drop, easy, very visual, awesome program. Check it out on the Google and Apple Play Store. That is the Planter app, the Planter app, and there is a link below that will get you a very good discount on a lifetime. It's already cheap, but then you get the discount on top of that, and you have it forever, and you can use it everywhere. I'm going to be doing my garden plan tonight for fall on YouTube Live for my members. So if you want to see it in action, you can come find the replay. Okay.
I told you an episode ago, or a couple of episodes, or a conversation ago, that I have been combining all seasons on a single garden plan. And this year, based on a conversation we were having, I think on air, I decided to pull out and just do fall. And boy, it's probably how most people do it anyway. Boy, did that really change things. Like, the benefit of seeing everything across the seasons was great. But when I get to the point of, this is where I start hemming and hawing, being able to get more laser focused on the fall.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility all within the same app is super cool.
I had so many designs on there. I went through and I deleted every single one of them because I was getting confused. So I just deleted them all. I'm starting over, and it's causing me a little bit of a headache, but that's my own doing. All right, let's get to our question. So our question comes from YouTube, and our question is from Wanda.
Hey, Wanda.
Wanda, I want to give you a special congratulations because this is the first time in an entire year that it was on cue. That was awesome, Batavia. Good job. Okay. Wanda says, "Hi guys, question regarding what to plant," and she spells it like this: potatoes. Smiley face. Come on, somebody. It's right on it. She says, "My potatoes will come out probably in 2 weeks. I would like to use space for garlic. So should I leave the bed empty, or what to plant in between? Any issues with garlic after potatoes?" And she is in coastal Oregon.
Oh, I feel like I need to go in with the Planter app and see if they're combative. Am I hearing that right? It's 2 weeks. She expects there to be potatoes out, and then in 2 weeks after that, she's going to be planting garlic. Did I hear that right?
No, she's going to have a
Okay.
gap in between.
Of how? Okay, she didn't say though. Yeah.
So are you looking
can
in?
imagine.
Are you looking in the Planter app right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so before you give your answer, I want to, off the top of my head, I'm going to say they're combative because they're both root crops. What does the Planter app tell you? Are you not there yet?
Yeah, it doesn't list it as something that's combative. Let me add it to my plan and see
Yeah.
if uh,
Yeah, if you put them
yeah,
right next to each other, it could give you the red
does it.
dot.
Yeah. Let's see. Potatoes. Did Peter change the spelling of potatoes in the app? No.
I don't know. Peter, you need to put it as lowercase p-o, capital T-A-T, lowercase o-e-s. I don't know if I spelled it right. That was really embarrassing.
I can't believe you did that. It doesn't matter the casing for me. It's just you got to get the hyphens right.
Well,
Uh,
Wanda did it, so that's her spelling, and we
yeah.
need to do it for her.
Okay. All right. Well, good for you. Um, I am having some trouble with my
Okay,
thumb.
so while you do that, typically speaking, the way I look at it is if it's a root crop, I don't plant a root crop behind a root crop because overall it's the same nutrients that are used to form the root. But I will say this, and Batavia, I would be interested on your take also. But for me personally, if I was pulling out and this is really important about the zones. She put in her zone was 8B. I'm in 8B as well, but my potatoes came out months ago. There's no way they would grow here. So that just kind of gives you the kind of gist about how zones really don't matter. But if I was going to pull them out and then in a month or two or something, I was going to be putting garlic right behind it, I probably wouldn't plant anything. I would just let that garden rest for a while and then go right behind it. But you're welcome to do whatever you want. I just think that it's better not to put yourself in a position where you need to make a difficult decision of either pulling a plant out that's not really ready to be pulled out or planting a crop that you really want to get in. So, you can do what you want with that, but I prefer not to put myself in that position if possible.
Yeah, and then the planter wrap doesn't list those two as combative. And I added both of them to the plan and it wasn't flagged with a red dot. So I think generally speaking, they can play well together if you happen to be growing them at the same time. Um, I I absolutely would, plant one after another. I never done it, but it's because they both are root crops, so to speak. They're growing under the soil, at least the part that you want to harvest. Then they should be planted together. I best version of myself, it would be left. So I'm planting my garlic in a space that doesn't have. I think, I think the 2026 garlic is going to be a space that currently has tomatoes. And so I'm going to end up pulling them later in the season and not replanting that until the garlic comes up. So similar, given that they're, both of the nightshade potatoes and tomatoes, um, it's probably easily a month to 6 weeks between the time that I would pull my tomato plants and be actually ready to plant garlic. But I'll have enough going on in the garden. So
Yeah, and based on what I know and I've talked to a lot of people in Oregon, there's a lot of growing season in the winter. So
hmm
with meaning there's the potential to grow throughout the winter. So a little bit of rest time is actually not the worst. But
yeah.
again, you do what you want to do with it. It's your garden. That's the beauty of all of
Yeah, when you
this.
think about um, how warm the weather could be, I don't know if there are a ton of options to get in between either. Because I would think something like some quick greens, the leafy kind, would be nice just as get
Yeah, you're
something in that
talking.
soil.
This question came in July, so you're talking. Heat stuff like that. So
Yeah,
you got to
yeah.
start being realistic and
hmm
narrowing down. In a perfect world, I would grow. I'd figure something out. You could go into cool season crops, but
You
this
could do some
world's not perfect.
summer squash if you really want, like if you felt like you were missing something. That's
Yeah.
that's the logic I think you use. Are you missing something from your garden? And if so, do you have enough time to grow in that space, that thing you're missing, assuming that it's not combative with the next thing you're going to plant?
Yeah. There you go. So, would you plant behind it or would you let it rest?
Best version of myself would plant behind it. The actual realistic version of myself, I'd let it rest.
There you go. I'd let it rest. Let it rest and have the most amazing garlic crop you ever had. And while you're at it, throw some onions in there and have a garlic and onion bed and call it a day, okay? Plant yourself some onions and be happy. So, with that being said, this is the Backyard Gardens podcast. We are thankful that you're here. Support us any way you like. Don't forget to pick up some seeds. Get yourself the planter app. We have an Amazon list below that has all the products we use in our gardens. We are not sponsored by any of those. We just like them and we want to share what we have trial and error with you so you can be successful in your garden. And remember, on this show we do two things. We learn to grow and we grow for change.
See ya.